Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the slight delay there. Hopefully you should all be able to see a PowerPoint slide excuse me, with QlikView and Velos IT logo on it. I think we've got just about everybody on the call, so we are ready to go. So good morning again to this webcast by Velos IT on our QlikView loaders and GL template reports for Oracle eBusiness Suite. My name is Alan Kerr, and I'm the Commercial Director for Velos IT, who are an Oracle Services and QlikView partner. I'm going to be joined today by a couple of my colleagues, Andrew McElrick and Ken McConaughey. If, as we're going through the presentation, you get any questions, please use the chat facility, which should be available on the right-hand side of your screen. So to start with, it appears we normally get two different types of attendees on our QlikView webinars. Organisations, companies like yourselves who may already have QlikView and eBusiness Suite, which is a surprisingly large number. And those companies are having difficulties achieving the full benefits of QlikView, due mainly to the complexity of the eBusiness Suite data model. And again, that's a surprisingly large number. And other organisations who have eBusiness Suite, but with older, outdated reporting tools such as Discoverer, Business Objects, Crystal Reports, things like that, and are therefore reviewing their BI strategy, but want to make sure they're getting the best tools at the best price, and most importantly, want to be able to have easy access to their Business Suite data, their eBusiness Suite data. So the main objective of today is, however, is to demonstrate Velos IT's QlikView, the eBusiness Suite reports, General Ledger Reports module, which we believe replaces the need for Oracle's cumbersome FSG reporting, and actually goes somewhere beyond that as well. But before doing that, we're going to give you a 5-minute whistle-stop tour of QlikView's overall functionality. This will include an explanation of how Velos IT's solution automatically loads your eBusiness Suite data into QlikView, which includes the complex flex fields that many of you will be aware of. We'll then demo Velos IT's QlikView FSG replacement GL module, which, to be honest, is a bit of a mouthful. We need to get a snappier name for it. But we believe it does what it says on the tin by replacing your FSG reporting requirements and a good bit more. We've also a growing number of other module reports, such as payables, receivables, human capital management, payroll, and we're constantly adding to this. Therefore, this is not a demo of QlikView, but it's a demo of, and it's not a demo of eBusiness Suite ledgers, it's a demo of part of that Velos IT's tool set that allows eBusiness Suite users, in this case finance users, to get fast, easy access to their eBusiness Suite data. And at the same time, we'll show some of the features of QlikView as we're going through. So for today, I'll do a brief introduction to QlikView for those of you that aren't aware of it. Ken will then demo Velos IT's QlikView eBusiness Suite GL reporting module. Then we can finish off with some questions. Hopefully you'll find the next 30 minutes or so informative. But as there are a wide variety of customers on the call today, you may have some specific questions or interests. If that's the case, you can contact us directly. Our contact details will be on the last slide of the pack, and we'll be recording and are recording this webinar and putting it up on our website within the next couple of days. So I'm going to start with a quick overview of QlikView. For those of you who already have QlikView, don't worry, it only lasts actually less than 5 minutes, and you never know, you might there might be something in here that you weren't aware of. One of the key aspects of QlikView reporting is what they call the associative experience. When you select a piece of information, it turns green. And anything associated with that selection turns white, and anything not associated with it turns grey. That means you're seeing all the information you requested, but also information you won't have requested, but could be of interest. We had a recent example where we were demoing QlikView for a customer, and the sales director in the room asked to see what sales they had by salesman. The report that we demoed showed what the salesman had sold, but it also showed what they hadn't sold. The sales director noticed that this one specific salesman that we drilled down to hadn't sold, and I can't remember the product name, but let's say it's product X, which was greyed out. In other words, it wasn't associated with that salesman. He then wanted to know what other salesmen hadn't sold product X, as this was their highest margin generating product. So we quickly showed this, and some subsequent emails were sent to some subsequent salesmen about redirecting their attention. So though he hadn't asked that question, the grey unassociated data was actually of more interest to him. So although not hugely relevant within GL, you'll see examples of this grey unassociated data as we go through the demo. So QlikView is a solution. It's fully mobile with the ability to run on iPads, tablets, phones, you name it, it will run on it. And you have the ability to select, swipe, pinch, zoom as you would with any other apps. Within a report, end users have the ability to create new reports, tables, graphs, etc., just by a pure drag and drop of reporting widgets. And Ken will demo an example of that later fairly soon. On the latest Release 11 version of QlikView, this allows collaboration. You can leave notes on reports for others to look at. You can have your report open and conference someone else in so that they can see what you're doing with the report, with that report on a real-time basis. So even if you're sitting in the office and your colleague is in a coffee shop on their iPad, you can collaborate on QlikView and a QlikView report within QlikView itself. As end users develop new reports, they can share them in the same way as you can for iPhones, Androids, etc. Delos IT support a number of other BI solutions for our existing customers, including Cognos, Crystal, OBIE, etc. And we find that these are pretty labour intensive to support and are not particularly end user friendly from a development perspective. Whereas with QlikView, users can develop most reports themselves and they can get them up and running in hours rather than days or weeks with the other solutions. Excuse me. And with Velos IT's data loaders and template reports, you can be up and running in a matter of weeks, again, even if not in days, rather than with the traditional tools, months or more likely, possibly even years. In addition to be able to create new reports, one of the slides I showed earlier on, end users can also modify existing ones to satisfy whatever current analysis they're carrying out. And QlikView comes with all the necessary central management tools that you would expect to ensure system stability, performance, security, etc. And although we're going to focus on eBusiness Suite, you can of course download data from any source, including Excel spreadsheets, Salesforce.com, etc., so that your company can end up with one combined single version of the truth. QlikView is also the first, and from our analysis, still the best BI in-memory tool on the market. So all of the data you've got is held in memory, which delivers incredible performance, which you'll see as we're going forward. And this is achieved also through some best-in-class data compression techniques that they have. Whenever we download data from eBusiness Suite into QlikView, we normally get like a 2-to-1 compression reduction, which is pretty impressive. And an additional option you can get with Velos IT is the ability to load your data incrementally from eBusiness Suite, or in fact any database, approximately every 5 minutes. So that provides a virtual real-time BI system that doesn't impact production system performance. which can obviously be crucial from a reporting and a systems performance point of view at specific times such as month end. So while we could demo our data loaders, to be honest, it's a bit like watching paint dry. So we're not going to do that, but what our demo does cover is data that we've automatically loaded down from the eBusiness Suite Vision demo system. By combining our eBusiness Suite expertise with our QlikView experience, we've automatically downloaded data for GL, AP, AR, human capital, payroll modules, and we've got others to follow as well. We've also managed to automate the downloading of the key and descriptive flex fields, which is a key feature of our downloads, and was only possible through the close work of these teams and many months of effort. So we can now download your eBusiness Suite data into QlikView in a matter of a few days rather than the months it may take you. So just I think finally from my side, so as a quick summary of our data loaders, they cover a growing number of eBusiness Suite modules. We can extend the loaders to non-eBusiness Suite systems. The demo we're going to show is based on 3.5 million rows which were downloaded from eBusiness Suite and the Vision database in about 4 minutes. And as we've already stated, this includes the automatic transfer and translation of the flex fields. And finally, we can run the loaders incrementally so that you can have a virtual real-time BI system. Sorry, I did forget one other slide. This is just a straight copy of an existing, an FSG report off of the eBusiness Suite demo system. From our perspective and several customers we've talked to, the FSG reports are static, inflexible reports. You submit your parameters and you wait for the results. If you have to wait on IT for some of the more detailed changes, you can wait days. Even changing sort sequences can cause hours of delay. If you need to rerun a report, it can be slow as you're stuck in a job queue. And if you want to drill down into the information, you have to run additional reports. So now let me hand over to Ken, who will demo the Delos IT QlikView GL module, which is based on the data we've downloaded from eBusiness Suite and provides the real-time, flexible, drillable, if that's a word, solution to FSGs at a highly competitive price. So bear with us for 2 minutes while we try and switch this over, and we're having 1 or 2 screen resolution problems this morning. Don't want to do that one, so bear with me. We're going to this one. Okay, I think we should be ready to go at that. You're on this screen. Oops, you were on that screen. We'll click that again. No. You're working on that screen then. You're ready to scroll a wee bit more. We've got a few resolution problems this morning. I apologise for that. We're working on a different screen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we think that should look okay for everybody. So over to you, Ken.
Right, thanks, Alan. What we've got here is a QlikView document which has basically drawn information from the database from Oracle eBusiness Suite. The structure of the data that lies behind the QlikView document is coming from a whole host of tables within the eBusiness suite. But what I'm going to do is just sort of bring up the kind of main table information that it's pulling the information from. So obviously what you've got is all the journal batches and headers and journal lines that have been transacted through the system are all available to be inquired on. Also, in order to be able to produce things like P&L accounts and balance sheets and so on, what we've also done is produced the data from the account balances as well. The structure of the system is all geared around the general ledger structure and the code combinations and the flex hierarchy. So effectively, the raw data on its own is about like a skeleton, and the code combinations and the flex hierarchy really give you the key to be able to flesh all of that information out. So, as I say, there are lots and lots of tables that are involved, but these are the main ones, and that's where we've pulled the data, and that's primarily what we'll be looking at this morning. So just get rid of that. The first thing that I was going to look at really is the idea of the association that Alan spoke about earlier. And what we've tried to do in this first tab is really just show you what the sort of associations, key associations are within the general ledger structure. So what we've got is we've got a number of general ledgers that have come from that database. Each of those is a profile, or each of the accounts is a profile of either being a balance sheet or an income and expenditure account. And then within that, within, say, balance sheet, you've got assets and equity, income and expenditure, you've got revenue and expenditure. And then you go down to the account level. So if I start actually doing some selection, so I'll pick, first of all, Vision Operations. You can see what it's done is it's grayed out all of the other organizations. It's changed the account structure slightly because now we're only looking at Vision Operations. So again, if I do income and expenditure, you can see what it's now done is it's grayed out all of the balance sheet details and left me only with income and expenditure. So I'm now looking at the structure of the account system, which is income and expenditure. I'll take expenditure only, and I'm now only looking at the expenditure accounts. So that's the sort of concept of association. So it easily allows me to sort of drill into the details of the structure within that particular database. So if I clear all of that out, I'll go to the next element, which is the chart of accounts hierarchy. So effectively what it's saying is, on here and on that database, what we have is a number of general ledgers. Obviously, Vision Operations are the top of the pile there. It's telling me the ledger code, the name of it, whether it's a primary or a secondary ledger, what the core currency that we transact in for that particular reporting for that particular ledger, whether intercompany trading is allowed, when the first and last transactions took place within there. So if I want to do a bit more drill down, I'll go into Ledger 1, which is Vision Operations. Now what it's now done is it's now gone and discovered the data structure for that particular general ledger. So what we can see here is the key reporting hierarchy that we have within Vision Operations is 5 segments which come from the code combinations and flex field information within the database. Segment 1 is company, segment 2 is department, segment 3 is account, segment 4 is sub-account, and segment 5 is product. Now what we've then done is driven all of the reporting that we do for that particular ledger around that structure. So effectively what we're able to then do is produce all of the data fleshed out, the numbers fleshed out with the descriptive elements of it, like, for example, the company names, the department names, the chart of accounts itself, and any sub-accounts, and there's actually one for product where specifically what's happened is that a segment's been added to look at spending on particular products. So effectively what I've got here is the chart of accounts with the account structure itself and the groupings and parent accounts within there. So again, if I focus, say, on the income and expenditure, you can see that it's now changed all of those. And if I said I'm only interested in employee expenses, then it's showing me all the GL codes that represent employee expenses. I'll just clear that one out, and I'll go to, well actually I'll pick Vision Operations again, and I'll go to the next tab, which is what we call the Audit tab. And effectively the idea behind the Audit tab is to give help within the discovery process to begin with in terms of understanding the structure of that particular business. So effectively what it's showing me here is all of the transactions that go into Vision Operations over the lifetime of this system, and indeed the source of those transactions. Obviously all of the transactions here didn't originate from the general ledger. They may well have originated from other modules like AP, AR, etc. So you can see these here, like accounts payable system, purchase invoices, number of transactions, number of lines. What we've also done from an operational point of view is put a sort of trending box on the end there to show you when the peaks and troughs of these sort of transaction processes happen. So anything that's shown in red is the lowest period, and anything shown in blue is the highest period. So you would use that in the discovery process to understand the scale and the size of the transactions you have. But then operationally, once you start using the system later on, then it's able to show you where your peaks and troughs are for, say, month-end journal entries through spreadsheets, and you can see just how many of these things are actually happening. Obviously, one of the other features of the ledgers would be, you know, the category of currency that's been used in the transacting of these particular transactions. So again, if I said, show me only euro-based transactions, then it's immediately refresh that information. This is obviously one of the huge benefits of actually having an in-memory solution. So instantly, when I pick a filter there, it's refreshed that information accordingly. So I'll just clear that and go back to where we were. Obviously, what I can do is I've got a time-based analysis on here as well, so I can look at years, you know, specific years or months, quarters, weeks, etc. What we've done is built a calendar around the effective transaction day. So effectively, what we're able to do then is isolate transactions, say, to the year. So if I said, show me only transactions that happened in 2004, you can see that, in fact, there's an interesting sort of combination there of January, February, March, and May all have transactions, but April, June, and July, they've been greyed out, so you can immediately see that. I'll just clear that one out. And I'll go to the next thing, which is transaction inquiries. So one of the objectives that we had as well was to be able to allow someone to be able to find their way down to transactions from a helicopter view right down to the details. So obviously what we've got is the ledger of Vision Operations. If I said, I'm interested in transactions that happened in 2003 that came from the accounts receivable system. So my source is the accounts receivable. And again, what it's doing is it's graying out any transaction types that are not accounts receivable transactions. So if I said, well, I'm interested in, let's say, October, and what credit memos have we done in October? And it's immediately isolated only the transactions that are credit memos that have been done in October. At the top of this chart, what it's doing is it's telling me what the total is and how many lines there are. But if I actually pick one of those transactions, if I just click on the transaction itself, what it's now doing is it's showing me all of the transaction details that go to make that transaction up. So it's picked all of that information up from the journal lines. So in this case, it's showing me 6 journal lines. I can see where all of them have gone. So obviously, in this case, accounts receivable, the control account's been updated by the overall value of the transaction itself, and then the split of how much of it in this case was tax and how much is actually a credit to the hardware revenue account. So you can see all of that immediately as a result. Next thing we wanted to be able to do was be able to prove the data between the eBusiness suite and what we actually have in QlikView, because seeing is believing that if you have the transaction information correctly and it all matches up properly with what you get out of eBusiness suite, then you can be really confident with the reporting that we do later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a trial balance and sort of look at trial balance October 2003, and there's my period trial balance with all of the accounts with the beginning balance, period debit, period credit. Now obviously we know that you can produce this from eBusiness Suite, but the beauty of this is the numbers are the same. This is exactly the report, and it matches identically the report if we run it from the eBusiness Suite itself. What we've also done is we've added a few bells and whistles to that to allow you to have more flexibility looking at the trial balance. So for example, in this case, if I wanted to isolate income and expenditure only, then just by clicking that button there, it's only looking at the income and expenditure. If I wanted to only look at the balance sheet, again, just clicking on that will allow me to do it. Go back to there and say, show me ones that have either have or don't have transactions. So if I click on transactions only, then immediately what it's done is it's taken away everything else, all of the accounts that didn't actually have transactions during that period. What I'm able to then do is, having looked at it, let's go back to income and expenditure, is drill down into the details. So for example, if I looked at advertising and clicked on the advertising account and click on journal details, then what it's doing is then finding all the journal details that have gone to make that particular movement up during the period. Now we've obviously expanded in this into the concept of reporting, and what I'm going to do is go into income and expenditure tab, and what's that's representing is in effect a P&L account for this organisation for the period of the year 2003. What I'm able to do immediately with that as well is to isolate, for example, I wanted to isolate January, February, March. And again, quick click on that and it's refreshed that information accordingly. So that's instantaneous, the view that you get of that. So effectively what I've done is isolated the first quarter in there. And I've just pressed the clear button, which is like a little eraser. And it refreshed all of that information back to the full year. Now what you might think, and as a user, what you think, well, what I'd like to be able to do is to be able to do a bit more filtering on that information. That's showing me the information company-wide. So what I want to be able to do is add an extra filter. So as a user, what I can do is I can just go to the plus box here and add a new list box to allow me to do a new filter. So I'm just going to drag that across, and it's just a simple drag and drop process. And what it's done is it's defaulted to the first filter that we use, which is time-based filtering. But what I want to do is change that to hierarchical filtering, which is a hierarchy within the organisation. So if I say pick the hierarchy, then it's defaulted that to department, which is actually what I really want to be able to do. So let me clear the decks of the designer, and effectively what it's now saying is here are all the departments within the organisation. So if I clicked on Sales Northeast, what it's doing is it's going to refresh that information that is only Sales Northeast. There's actually another really powerful piece of stuff that you can now do with this filter, which is things that are not naturally put together within the database. So for example, if I wanted to add together Sales Northeast and Sales East, I effectively just click both of them, and it's now summed those two things together. So you can do that sort of thing on the fly. Really, really powerful capability. I'll just clear that back out again. What I've also done is we've set some other examples of sort of typical kind of revenue style and balance sheet style reports. So we're going to revenue with previous periods and years. So what we've done here is shown it with current year and shown it with the previous year. And we've also used another feature of QlikView, which is visual queuing. And basically the idea of that is that green is good and red is bad. So effectively any variances that are positive or towards the business are shown in green, and the other variances are shown, the bad ones are shown in red. You can decide what you actually want to do in terms of like what the actual value that you will queue at, and that can automatically then be reflected in reports from there on. What you've also got is the ability to add things like notes onto there as well, and you can collaborate with colleagues by adding notes. I'll not get into that because I'm going to push on to the next thing I'm going to have a look at, which is basically things like like drilling into sort of more detail of things like the operating expenses. So for in this case, what I've done is put together only looking at operating expenses, but put the filter of department right next to it. So for example, I said, well, how much is the chief executive costing us? Then I can click into there, and it's showing me immediately what the costs of the chief executive are. Now I'm going to have a look at sort of similar kind of approach, where what we've looked at so far has all been very, very tabular, and it's facts and figures, if you like. But what I'm going to do is display this sort of stuff graphically now, and I'll go into my multi-year analysis. Which is the last tab there, and have a look at things like the revenue and cost of sales. So basically, what it's showing me there is all of my revenue and cost of sales with shown graphically instead of actually just showing raw numbers on there. But we can, and you'll see later, we can drill into the details that lie behind that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at travel costs. And that's just too much detail at the moment. So what I'm going to do is look at that at group level. So effectively what that's showing me is the total travel costs during the years 2002 through to 2005. And you can see that suddenly there's a huge jump. So I'm now interested in that. So if I just click on the bar itself, it's now in isolated 2003. And what I'm going to then do is change my selection of time and change that to period. So I can see that suddenly things started to jump in February 03. Now I click on February 03. If I want to, I can now see the details that lie behind that. So what it's doing is combining the graphical presentation right down to the details. So again, if you were linked up with things like AP or AR, you can then go right through back to the invoice or the expense claim. In this case, it's an expense claim that's actually been made. Next thing we want to have a look at is the ability to do what-if type of things within QlikView as well. We'll go back to income and expenditure and what-if. So effectively what it's showing me here is, here's my raw numbers. If you remember, the profit line for 2003 was just under 8 million. Now here's all the operating expenses, and what I've put down the bottom here is sliders which allow us to reduce or increase any of the combinations of these. So for example, let's say operating expenses went up by 10%, and I can just slide over to 10%, and that's the net result. And I've shown this a couple of ways. So what it's showing me is what it was, what the change is, and what the cost will be now. And I've also shown that graphically as well. And you can see as I change the sliders, the graph changes automatically. So if I go back to, in this case, 5%, you can see that it's now changed those. So people who like to look at graphs can see things graphically rather than just simple tables. I think that's really kind of covered most of what we want to cover today. There's a lot more available within the system, and anyone else would be more than welcome to do a sort of private session with you going through the application. I'll hand you back to Alan.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken. We're now getting to the really technical part of the session. I'm going to try and get the screen back, change it back to B. bear with us again just 2 minutes. Give me the wrong slide. So we're just, we've got one more slide to go through, and we're just having a bit of a problem, as you can probably see today, with the resolution. But it really is just the one slide. So let me just quickly summarise that just now. What we're looking at is the QlikView is one of the leading BI products in today's marketplace, as you can see from the Gartner chart there. So what this Gartner chart doesn't show, though, is the cost comparison of QlikView against the others. And you might not be able to see it, but QlikView is up in the leaders section up top right, not quite the very top right. But what it doesn't show is the cost comparison, as I said, of QlikView against the others, and it doesn't take account of VLSIT's loaders and templates. And I think, in our opinion, if it did both of these things, we would definitely be top right. With QlikView from VLSIT, you get, as we've already said, the automated data loaders. You get the option for a 5-minute data refresh, which gives you a virtual real-time BI solution. And there's a growing suite of template reports, including the GL app, excuse me, that we've demoed today. You can add additional systems data into your QlikView systems, such as Salesforce.com, Excel spreadsheets, etc. And you get the flexibility to easily develop your own QlikView reports. It's easy for end users to develop their own reports, and it's fast to implement and start achieving real, return on investment with a low total cost of ownership going forward. So, thank you for listening, and I'm just going to quickly check and see if we've had any questions. Okay, there's one here, just in fact, it's just come in, just on my very last comment there about, it says, why is it low total cost of ownership? An example of that would be, we've got one customer that we're working with who developed a QlikView report in 2 days, and their comment was that it took them 15 days in Crystal reports. That's low total cost of ownership. I also talked, before we get involved with QlikView, I also talked to a director of a reasonably well-known BI consultancy and asked them about QlikView, and they said they weren't going to get involved with QlikView because they couldn't see that they could sell very much consultancy on it. Again, looking at that and saying, okay, limited, they're not getting involved because they can't sell consultancy, I think that starts to say that's a low total cost of ownership. One other one here, what is the VLSIT solution cost? Strangely enough, we're going to be publishing a matrix of example packages early next week on our website. They'll include bundles of VLSIT, the loaders and template reports, along with QlikView licenses, or for those of you that have already got QlikView licenses, it will just show what the cost of the loaders and the reports are. However, I'm pretty sure that these packages won't be an exact fit for everyone. In fact, it's possible they won't be an exact fit for anyone. So if you've got any inquiries on that, give us a call and we can discuss them. Looking at a few more questions here. Yeah, probably a quick look. There's a few more questions, but they appear to be reasonably customer specific. So I'll get back to people directly on those. But if you want to get in touch with us, please do so. Hopefully you can see it's probably pretty small on your screen, and I apologise for the resolution issue. We're using a new screen in my desktop, and it's just caused us a few wee problems. Anyway, there's the contact details up on the screen. So thank you very much for listening, and have a good day, as the Americans would say. Thank you.